Today we are back at Dirt Nerds Motors with my XJ. Told you guys I had to get rid of this thing, and it's been hard to believe, but over a year since we've made a video with my XJ. Today we're actually doing something that I've been talking about for almost 2 years at this point, and that is some more rust repairs. We're getting the mud flaps installed in the rear, and I'm very excited to see the finished product. So as you guys may or may not know, whenever I first got this Jeep about 5 years ago, I got a whole bunch of rust repairs done to it. So of course we got the rocker panels replaced, we got the rear lower quarter panels replaced. Then on the underside, we had it descaled and undercoated with fluid film. So of course, fluid film is supposed to be kept up with every single year, and I have not been doing that. And I have been looking into some different undercoating products. And the reason for that is because I have had some new surface rust show up on the underside of this XJ. And I will get out here soon and kind of show you guys what it looks like currently, so you guys will get a good baseline of kind of what to compare it to when I show you guys what it looks like afterwards. But basically, I wanted to get it re-undercoated since I haven't been keeping up with that process. And as you guys know, with fluid film, you're supposed to keep up with it every year and reapply it every year. So as you guys know, I've been to Dirt Nerds twice in the past, and I've been really happy with their work. A few years ago, they replaced a bunch of the cooling products on my Jeep, and then a couple years ago, they replaced my rear bumper that was super rusty. And now I'm back for more rust repairs. So they actually do not use fluid film because it's more of a, I guess, oil or wax-based film. And the way they described it is that if you're off-roading or anything and maybe your rock hits the fluid film or maybe you scrape on something, you actually have to strip the entire undercoating and reapply it, because once you release that seal of the fluid film, you can't really, seal it back up. So instead of getting another coat of fluid film, what we're doing today is they're actually going to wire wheel all of the surface rust off of the underside. Then they're also going to drop the springs so they can get around the spring buckets that way, since there was a little bit more rust around those areas. So after that, they're actually going to apply a rust encapsulator to prevent any more rust from forming, and then they're going to paint it black. So I wanted to do that just so it has a more uniform look on the underside. Right now it just kind of has a bare metal look because I used the clear fluid film a few years ago. And so I think being able to have the rust encapsulator plus the black paint will make it look a whole lot better. And so the advantage over that compared to fluid film is if you scrape any of the paint off, you don't have to strip the entire coating and apply it again. You can just, clean off the area that you stripped or scraped off and just reapply the encapsulator and the paint, and then you should be good to go. So definitely very excited to see what the finished product is going to look like. Like I said, highly recommend Dirt Nerds Motors. I've been here twice already and they do a great job. And so let's go ahead and step out and let me show you guys a quick look of what the rust currently looks like. I won't lie, the Jeep is definitely looking pretty dusty, but wanted to show you guys a quick before look of what the Jeep looks like on the underside. So it's really honestly not super bad. Take a look over here on the frame. It's really not that bad. And then near the springs, here's what I was talking about. Like this area right here is what they're gonna focus on as well. Some more right there. And I'll show you guys the rear here as well. So really not too bad. A little look at the rear of the unibody right there. And there you can see the rear lower quarter panel that we got replaced a few years ago as well. So yeah, it's really not super bad if we're being honest, but I definitely am excited to have more of a consistent and black look under here. And there's that rear bumper that we also got replaced. You can see how much better that looks. And then just a quick look here at the front. See some of the components right here. A little bit rusty right there on the sway bar. Track bar there as well. So for a 2001, it's really not that bad. But like I said, if I don't take care of this, then it'll just keep getting worse over time. So might as well do some preventative maintenance. I'm gonna go ahead and drop this thing off and see you guys when we come to pick it up. So we are back from the shop, and before I actually show you guys the finished product, I wanted to talk to you guys about what they actually did and what actually happened. So of course, as you guys saw, I dropped the Jeep off at the shop, and then I got it back probably like 2 days later. So what they did was they wire wheeled all of the surface rust over the frame and some of the body panels on the underside. And then they applied rust encapsulator to prevent any rust from occurring, any more rust at least. And then they painted 2 coats of black paint over the frame. So my understanding was that they would actually paint the entire underside, you know, aside from like the exhaust and the moving parts and stuff like that. But the first time I got the Jeep back, I noticed that only the frame was actually painted and the actual underside body panels were not painted, as well as there were a few spots that were still kind of rusty, so you know, I could just kind of touch it and the rust was kind of flaking off. I didn't take too many very detailed videos or pictures of that, but I did take a few, and I'll show you guys that right now. So as you can see, definitely wanted to make sure that I had a better job done and that this work was up to my standards as well as their standards. I've been to this shop twice in the past and never had an issue, so I figured they wouldn't have any issues taking it back and, you know, doing a redo of it. So I brought it back to the shop and, you know, I showed them the pictures in the video, and he said that is concerning once I showed him the picture of that rusty spot on the frame. So, you know, it was very reassuring to hear that he saw what I saw and that he was willing to take it back and do a redo. So brought it back to the shop, no issues, and I now have it back, and I will show you guys what the finished product looks like. But first, now that we're out here in daylight, I want to show you guys what the Jeep actually looks like out in the sun, since, you know, it's probably been over a year since you guys have seen my XJ on the channel here. So I'm going to show you guys what the Jeep currently looks like here. Nothing has actually changed, but I did want to show you guys, you know, just give you a nice look at the old XJ here. I did just wash it, so it does have a fresh, clean look. And now that we're outside in the sunlight, I want to show you guys what the frame actually looks like from here. So if you guys probably remember, here's the unibody frame. So all of that, of course, is painted black, and before it was that, you know, it was just bare metal. So to show you guys, just walk around here and show you the front as well. Looks a whole lot better with that black paint and the rust encapsulator. So obviously this part of the frame here was also that like very dull bluish color, probably just overspray from the paint of the body. So definitely looks a whole lot better here. Now I will give you guys a much more detailed, in-depth look underneath the Jeep here soon, so let's go ahead and do that. All right guys, so we're here underneath the Jeep, and as you can see, this is the transfer case right here, where I mentioned that there could have been a slight leak. So you can see some of it might be coming down through the slip yoke eliminator right here, maybe a little bit down below here where the seal is, and it's kind of splashing the oil up around the drive shaft right here. So you can see a little bit right there by the drive shaft and anywhere right above it as well. But as you can see here, they actually did paint the entire underside this time, whereas from the first time around, they did not paint this entire section up here. They only touched the frame as well as this part of the underside. So really happy with the finished product here. And obviously for a 24-year-old Jeep, it's not going to be perfect. As you can see, there's still a few spots that still look a little bit like bubbly, but you know, I did specifically ask about this, and they said this metal here is very thin, and to actually get rid of all this rust, they were worried about potentially poking a hole in it. So that's why it's still kind of, you know, still slightly visible here. So moving up a little bit farther towards the back, see right here, get a good view up there. So yeah, I mean, I'm really happy with how it turned out right now. The frame definitely looks better, definitely looks a whole lot cleaner and more uniform underneath. And of course, underneath the paint, we did get the rust encapsulator, which should prevent any further rust from forming. Then obviously right up here, you can see this part is unpainted just because it's probably a little bit difficult to get to, and it's, you know, a little bit closer to the drive shaft. Then of course, components like the exhaust is not going to get painted too. Moving here to the passenger side. So you can see same thing. So we got the frame painted right here, as well as the body panel on this side as well. And it goes like that pretty much throughout the entire body of the Jeep. So you can look at the back here as well. Looks good. Then passenger side rear looks good as well right there, right next to the shocks and the exhaust. Then here you can see the cross member was painted as well. All the frame components on the front as well. And of course there were parts that did not get painted, like I mentioned in the beginning, such as anything that moves, like the steering components did not get painted, as well as the exhaust, of course. So those are pretty much the only areas of the actual like metal that did not get treated and painted, but all the other like panels that were not movable or that don't move did get painted here, as you can see. So definitely pretty happy with the finished product and the end result. Moving up closer to the front here, we have the front drive shaft here. This is still the stock one, so it is a little bit rusty here, as you can see. And we have the control arm mount right here. As you can see, painted that as well. And I did notice that the transmission pan is kind of leaking. You can see the little drop of oil right there, and the entire underside is a little wet as well. So it's probably seeping out of there as well. Might be coming out of the drain plug, I'm not completely sure, but yeah, overall the underside is looking good up here in the front as well. Get a good view up here. Of course, this section here did not get painted. Looks like, you know, it's obviously a pretty tough spot to reach with paint, and there's also moving parts in the way here as well, so that didn't get painted. Good look up here. Overall looks a whole lot better this way, and I'm really a huge fan of the black look as opposed to the bare metal look that I had on here. I think it just makes it look a whole lot cleaner and a lot more uniform this way. I wanted to bring you guys here to the rear of the Jeep. This is right above the rear diff. So right up here you can see it is still stripping or flaking off a little bit, but of course that's one of the body panels that might be a little bit too thin to completely de-rust that way. So it did get a little bit of rust encapsulator as well as the black paint applied. So definitely looks a lot better that way. Here we have the frame, looks pretty good. This is the rear lower quarter panel. This was replaced. I had this replaced about 3 or 4 years ago whenever we did the first round of rust repairs. So it looks like it's holding up pretty well. I'm not completely sure if this was retouched up. Then as you guys know, we did get the rear bumper replaced a few years ago as well. Looking very good. No rust forming yet, which is a good sign. Brackets are looking good and rust free. And then here's the rear of the frame that the bumper attaches to. So you can see it is painted black as well. As you guys saw there, obviously it's not going to be completely 100% perfect. You know, this Jeep is what, 24 years old at this point. So, you know, they offered to do a much more detailed job, you know, kind of removing all of the parts from the underside and, you know, basically taking the entire Jeep apart and doing it that way. But of course that would have been a lot more expensive, you know, a few $1,000s, whereas for this service I paid, it was like $800 or $900, right under $1,000 for everything. So you know, for the price, I am happy with kind of how it turned out. It does look a whole lot better. It looks a lot more uniform on the underside as well now, just having the whole black look. So I am very happy overall with the job, very happy that they took it back in for a redo after the first time. The one thing that they did tell me once I picked the Jeep back up is that there seems to be a small leak out of the transfer case where the slip yoke eliminator actually mounts onto the transfer case. So as you guys probably know, if you've been following along with the channel for the past few years, I had that slip yoke eliminator installed probably like 3 or 4 years ago after I got the lift kit installed. So they recommended, you know, just keep an eye on it for now. If it's not an actual leak, it might just be seeping out. And, you know, what they mentioned is that it might just be dripping onto the drive shaft, and then the drive shaft kind of like splashes it all over the underside. And so that's why maybe some of the paint might not be able to completely stick on there for the long term. So, you know, they said just keep an eye on it and probably just reseal it sometime down the road. And along with the rust repairs, we also did get the rear mud flaps installed. So as you guys see here, it does look a whole lot better, I think. Just looks more uniform with the front because I did get the Jeep with all 4 mud flaps installed. But whenever I got these rear bumper end caps installed, they actually had to take off the mud flaps because they're screwed into the actual end cap here. And they couldn't reuse the old ones because they just didn't fit right with the new end caps. So I did get brand new mud flaps for the rear, and that's how they look installed. Of course, front, these mud flaps are what came with the Jeep when I got it. So it definitely looks very good in my opinion. Gets you guys a good rear view there, right there. I think it just kind of completes the look of the Jeep. Now, I'm not sure if these came completely stock with the Jeep from the factory, at least. I don't know that, but I did get the Jeep whenever I got it. It did come with the mud flaps, so I'm not sure if that's actually how they come from the factory or not. But I personally do like the look of the mud flaps on all 4 corners, just like that. And then as for future plans for my XJ, really nothing super short term. You know, obviously in the long term, I'm gonna continue to slowly replace and upgrade different parts. Right now, I'm kind of thinking the next thing I might look into is the steering system. So, you know, I might just look at different drag links and tie rods, maybe get something heavy duty. So that's currently what it looks like. Obviously, you can see some of the parts were replaced with the lift kit, like that steering stabilizer right there, as well as the adjustable track bar. You can kind of see that all right there. But the tie rod and drag link, those are pretty rusty, and it is also recommended to get an upgraded steering system after doing a lift kit as well. For those 2 reasons, I am thinking about possibly upgrading the steering system, just because the parts that are on there right now are rusty, as well as it's recommended to upgrade the steering system with a lift kit. Other than that, I really just want to make sure that I'm keeping up with the rust repairs and the surface rust. You guys know I did try to repair some of the rust that was in the bottom of the doors here by myself, and you know, it's kind of coming back here a little bit in a few spots, so definitely something I'm going to keep an eye on. But other than that, just a few, you know, like I mentioned, just continue slowly replacing and upgrading parts around the Jeep. So you know, this little seat bracket down here is completely rusted, so that might be something that I look into in the future. But to be honest, this Jeep is, you know, obviously in very good condition for a 2001. So I'm not planning to really do any kind of super heavy duty off-road upgrades or mods or anything like that. It's already on a 3-inch lift, you know, a quality 3-inch lift from Rusty's, as well as 31-inch mud tires and off-road wheels from ProComp. So that's pretty much where I'm going to stop and take it with the off-road mods. But of course, you guys know this isn't like an off-road like trail Jeep. That's what my 392 is, even though I don't do like anything crazy with it. But my XJ is mostly just a preservation project, and that's pretty much what I'm planning to continue doing with it. So if you guys like this video, just wanted to give you guys a quick update of the XJ, show you guys the rust repairs that we got done, as well as the mud flaps, and talk about a few future plans that could be coming up. I do have an off-roading trip planned with my 392 coming up here in a few weeks, so you guys should probably expect a video on that, and definitely excited to show you guys a new trail that we're going to be going on. So never been on this trail before, but very excited for it, and very excited to show you guys what it's like and take you guys along for the ride. So once again, hope you guys enjoyed, and thanks for watching. And just when I was saying that I don't really have many future plans for my Jeep, I now have a check engine light. So I guess that means that I will probably figure out what the future plan is and let you guys know.